Hello and welcome to After Scientology, Straight Up and Vertical, the weekly show where Tony Ortega and I get together and go over the week's events in the world of Scientology, as reported on Tony's Substack. You see the address right there on the screen and the link below to his Substack. So, hey, Tony, welcome back.
Hey, thanks for having me back, Chris. This is fun.
Yeah, let's do it. We got stories to cover. I'm just going to say we had a pretty interesting week in the world of Scientology. So let's go ahead and get to it with the first one, which is the next steps or next movements on this AI flap that happened with the Masterson victims and their trial or their attempt to sue Masterson and the Church of Scientology, and this got a bit derailed because of the use of AI. What's the update on this now? There was a filing.
Yeah, the latest thing. Okay, so this is a little unusual this week.
Mm,
This is the Danny Masterson civil lawsuit,
hmm.
not related to his criminal case. And in fact, the civil lawsuit was on hold for while the trials were going on.
Right.
And even before that, it's important to remember that this is the lawsuit that got forced into arbitration. But then the second appellate division, the appeals court, reversed that. That's really important to keep in mind. That was back in 2021. So now, 4 years later, this lawsuit's still going. It finally gets going again after the trials, and Scientology immediately tries to gut it with an anti-slap motion. Judge Upinder Kalra at LA Superior Court just denies it outright. Just knocks it out. Scientology was unhappy with that, so they appealed, right? And I've talked to a Texas lawyer about this. Our feeling is that it's not that serious of an appeal. They're just trying to slow things down. And it has. It stops the lawsuit in its track for a year and a half, 2 years, right?
That's right. That's right.
So, I don't, it seemed like kind of a waste of everybody's time. So, Scientology, in the appeals court, the appellant, in this case, Scientology, puts in what's called an appellant's opening brief. And then the respondents, they're called, in this case, the Jane Doe plaintiffs, put in what's called the respondent's brief. And then Scientology gets one more time to come back called the appellant's reply. The appellant's reply. In the appellant's reply, they pointed out, hey, we noticed something in their brief, but it looked like bogus AI generated citations.
That's right.
John Kucera, partner from Boyce Schiller, had to then admit, yeah, we messed up. So what we've been waiting for then is to see what the court's going to do about that. What Kucera proposed, he's turned in a corrected brief. He said, I took out all the AI errors. Let's just put this in. And Scientology's saying, no, you don't get to do that. No, 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 no. You have to lose those arguments and they should get kicked out of the case. We don't know what the court thinks yet about the whole AI mess. In the meantime, though, I noticed this week on the calendar, they have set a hearing date. And I checked with the court. I'm like, is this about the AI thing? And they said, no, this is the merits of the case. And Texas lawyer told me he thinks that's really fast. So December 9th, coming up real fast, they're gonna hear oral arguments on this case, and the attorneys for both sides are gonna get to argue about the appeal. Now, does that mean they're gonna take care of the AI thing between now and December 9th, or are they gonna take care of it after? The court said it may be in the ruling later on. The thing I'm trying to find out right away, and I haven't found out yet today, is in 2021, the last time we were here, the last time this lawsuit was at the appellate level and there was an oral arguments hearing, it was live online and we all got to watch. And it was really, really exciting to see some of the questions being asked, some of the ways that the justices were asking questions. It really gave us an idea what was going on. Now, that was during the pandemic. I don't know if in 2025 they're still doing that or not. I'm trying to find out to see if we all
Okay.
get to tune in or no, you have to be there. So we'll see. So that's the latest is December 9th coming up real fast. We're going to have oral arguments in the Danny Madison civil lawsuit, and the AI mess has not been dealt with by the court yet. And
Okay.
I don't know if it'll be dealt with that day or afterwards in the ruling. We really don't know yet. But big day
Okay.
coming.
And this is the case where Masterson, Church of Scientology, and RTC
And
are
David
all
Miscavige.
named
Right. So that's
defendants.
yeah, Church of Scientology, David Miscavige and Danny Masterson are being sued over allegations that they coordinated this harassment campaign against these women after they came forward to the LAPD in 2016.
Right.
And we've talked about this for years. Uh, after Danny was convicted, that put this lawsuit in a much better position. And what the women tried to do was bolster the lawsuit by adding another plaintiff,
Yep.
Trisha Vesey, the actress who testified in the first trial, and also to add civil racketeering charges
That's
and
right.
allegations of sexual battery against Maston. I mean, they're in a position now to really beef this thing up now
Yep.
that Danny's sitting in prison. But the judge has not been able to rule on whether to allow in that beefed up complaint because everything got put on hold by this ridiculous, you know,
Right.
appeal by Scientology, which feels like just a long shot by Scientology. Doesn't seem like a very serious appeal. I think the Jane Does are in the position to win this appeal, but again, we have to see what kind of penalty the attorneys pay for the AI mess.
Exactly. And there were also filings you reported on with some briefs being given to the court by outside people on
Oh,
this AI
right.
thing.
That's right. Thank you for reminding me. I'm sorry. Yeah. So while we're waiting for the court to make some kind of ruling about the AI thing, association of defense attorneys in Southern California submitted what's called a friend of the court letter or an amicus brief.
Mhm.
And they're saying, look, we're not on anybody's side. We're not saying anything about the merits of the case, but we want to tell the court that the law does not support the idea of what the boy Schiller is proposing and just turning in a corrected brief.
Mm.
This is, people are really concerned about these AI problems spreading. And this group is coming in and saying, we're not involved with either side. We're just really concerned about the AI situation. And we do not want to see the court just take a corrected brief. We think this legal team should really pay the price. So that
Right.
that definitely helps Scientology's side, and that's why said it was about Scientology benefiting from that. I
Right.
asked Texas lawyer what he thought, and he thought that an amicus brief can definitely help bring more publicity to a case, but he's not sure that it would really influence the court and which way they were going to rule anyway.
Got it. Okay. Well, AI is definitely incredibly controversial these days in a number of places. And when you come to a field like medicine, certain sciences, or the law, these are places where a human thinking device is needed because it's not just cut, paste, cut, paste, cut, paste. The tremendous amount of language in law, it kind of developed for a reason, and you can't just like copy paste your way AI your way through that. And so I know a lot of lawyers out there do just don't, they just like just shields up. We don't want any of that AI crap or slop anywhere near the legal system because it will literally corrupt things for hundreds of years. If you get
Yeah.
things wrong. So I understand why the strong arguments on this. I wanted people in general to understand why the legal system would be, kind of in a war footing on this because AI could drastically mess things up. Um, but it's just so goddamn unfortunate that it happened in this with the Jane Does in this case. They didn't deserve any of this at all. And the whole point you made today about the fact that this entire 2-year appeal process is really just a pretty big waste of everybody's time and money on the part of Scientology. It's really just, legal maneuvering to avoid responsibility. So it's just kind of a shame it got derailed a little bit there, but hopefully it gets back on the tracks and the case can actually move forward and we can get these rulings settled this next month. So I guess we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Interesting stuff. So now we also move on to something we talked about in some detail last week, but what there was, let's go ahead and just recap. And this was your post about Valerie Haney, and now the case is kind of in limbo with the arbitration. What's next steps? We don't. What's the deal?
Yeah, I talked to her attorney because I reported last week that her attorneys went into court and said, "Look, this is now going to be 15 days." Remember, the only other court-ordered arbitration in Scientology history were the Garcias, who in 2017 had an arbitration that lasted one afternoon. It didn't even last a whole day. It was a kangaroo court. It was a joke. the Garcias rejected it, but at least it only took an afternoon of their time, and they were then able to appeal it. That's what Valerie needs. Valerie needs to get through the arbitration so that she can then appeal the court's ruling, forcing her into it. And Scientology just keeps wanting more and more days. And her attorney told me, he said 10 or 11 of those 15 days, they put on witnesses and went over documents that had nothing to do with her lawsuit, nothing to do with her allegations or her claims. So it's just, they're just wasting her time. And she did 3 days in October 2023. She did 2 days in February 24. She did 5 days this summer, and now 5 more days this past week. And so I called the attorney to see, so what happened at the end? Did they have issue a ruling or something? And they have no idea. At the end of the 15 days, the panel just said we're gonna, they had subpoenaed Angelo Pagan and George Marshall, right? Leah Remini's ex-husband and her stepfather, and they hadn't showed up. And the attorney guy Andrea said to me, they don't have subpoena power. The whole thing's ridiculous. They're just wasting everybody's time, right?
Yep.
So they didn't have anything else, and so they said, okay, we're gonna just report to the IJC, and I did check with them, and the most recent letter they have from the IJC is signed by Mike Ellis. I know there's been some people saying that he's no longer the IJC.
I've heard he's been replaced.
Well, as the most recent letter they have from him is from the IJC is from Mike Ellis. So and I so
Wow.
I will check with them when another one comes in. We'll see. Maybe it's been replaced, maybe not. But the most I did ask them that. I said the most recent letter you have is that from Mike Ellis, and they said yes.
Okay.
So so the panel said it would report to the IJC, and that then Valerie would then hear from the IJC. That's what the attorney told me. Does that mean they're done? Is 15 days done? They're going to do a ruling? Does that mean they're going to come back to her and ask for more days? They have no idea. So we're just sitting around after 2 years already now. With we don't know. She's just in total limbo. I just hate the way they're treating Valerie Haney. It's
It,
so disrespectful. It's so ridiculous. And so we just have to sit and wait now.
yeah, exactly. The ball is 100% in their court, unfortunately, and as we have gone over in previous weeks, this is one of these gray areas where there is just a pit of real endless power that Scientology has on this because the courts are by hook. Really, it's not by design. Nobody meant for it to be this way, but when you get a destructive cult in the mix, then they corrupt every good principle of this, right? All the the religious discrimination stuff and all the the freedom of religion stuff that we want so we can practice and exercise our rights. Scientology takes that and uses it to screw people over, and it's maddening. And this particular case with Valerie is we're going to see how far they're going to be. They're daring to push their luck with this, so we'll see where they go with this. But I quite honestly, I could see them coming back with, yeah, and we have more questions and we're going to do more meetings, and here we go.
I mean, and
And
I've explained before on your show that the reason why they would want to drag their feet is they know if they ever actually do come up with a ruling, then Valerie, doesn't matter what the ruling is, it's a dollar, whatever.
yeah,
What she needs is the ruling, because then she can go back to court and file an appeal, and they have to hear it. She does have an appeal. The appellate court has to consider it, and then she can ask the second appellate division, California Appeals Court, to look at the ruling that forced her into arbitration to begin with. And remember, that's the same court we were just talking about in the Danny Masterson case. That's the same court that restored that lawsuit by
yeah,
overruling Scientology arbitration. So Scientology does not want this case to go to that appellate court.
not at
Uh,
all. Nope.
so
And that's another reason for them to stall on this thing. So we'll see how, like I said, really at this point, we're just going to see how brave they feel in pushing and pushing and pushing this, knowing exactly what Tony just said, that there is eventually going to be a reckoning. So, all right. Now moving on here, we had some more review, or some more photos and some more info come out, and the menu planning as well on the IAS event. So, what was
wow.
this?
Yeah, Alex Barnes Ross did such a great job with this protest again this year. And people there in England know how interested he is in everything to do with the IAS. So he gets sent a lot of stuff, and I'm just very fortunate that he passes on a lot of it to the underground bunker. These were just some photos of the dinner on Saturday night. Saturday night of the 3 nights of IAS is the patrons' ball. That's when they celebrate the big donors, and you have to be a $50,000 donor just to get in, and the tickets are $600 to $1,000 a table. So what are you going to serve people that have paid that much money? And so they always go all out.
Yeah.
And of course, to my eyes, it ends up looking like a pretty funny looking meal because it's got to impress people. So we had some photos of the meal, which was funny, and then a picture of Sandrine Mutu. Haven't seen her in a while, so that was interesting to see her.
Yeah.
And I just appreciate that Alex shares those things, because what we're waiting for now is for Scientology's own slideshow to see how they present the 3 days, and also what Impact Magazine says about who are the big trophy winners this time. I mean, these are just things that I keep track of that I think are important. I like to see, we get some sense of the health of the organization, which generally, I think we've talked about this before. Overall, I think we agree Scientology's in big trouble. It's not recruiting people. It's having a hard time staffing people. At the same time, that David Miscavige is better at getting gigantic donations out of rich people than he's ever been in the past. So it's
Right.
this really strange dichotomy where Scientology is really seeming to hurt on one level, but on the other hand, he's never had more cash, and that's
Exactly.
some level.
If
That's all he needs.
if he successfully continues to morph it into what he's doing with it, right, which is this sort of selling status and selling faith, then then he can move it right over to this whole other thing, and it's we're watching it happen in real time, right, where it's just all about money, money, money. um okay, go Miscavige. Now we had a follow up, and you and I had done some conjecture on this, and this was Pam Bondi, John Travolta, this Florida case with stolen fuel, and it got weird, and then it got weird again, and we were wondering what's up with this. So what came to light this
This
week?
this story I did is getting
Yeah.
a lot of attention. Radar has done something. I just heard from the AME people, so you're probably going to see something in National Enquirer or Us Weekly or something. They're very interested in this.
Good.
We've been following this case where these two pilots who work for Travolta, and John Travolta lives in this air park in Ocala, Florida, where he has jets that come right to his front door. Well, he has pilots that fly his planes. It's not just he himself flying planes. And these two pilots were charged last year with overcharging him on jet fuel purchases to the tune of about $750,000.
Yeah.
They both denied it. They both pled not guilty in state court. What we found interesting was that one of them, this Jean Paul Lacruz Romero, his attorney was this woman named Joe Barone, who I think is a very clever attorney. She, in state court, state criminal court in Florida, you can ask to depose people. You can't in federal court. And
Mm,
so she produced a witness list and said she wanted to depose Travolta, who's the only victim in the crime, and Travolta's live-in trainer, Jimmy Marino, because the pilots were staying the night in these, between these flights and stuff. Well, the state attorney freaked out. I mean, there's no other way to describe it. I mean, they were saying this is harassment. You can't do this. And not only were they objecting to her witness list, but they wanted the judge to rule on it behind closed doors. Joe Barone reacted by writing this really well argued filing saying, the only time we have behind closed doors hearings is when we're trying to protect, witnesses from, I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. And John Travolta's the victim of the crime. Jimmy Marino was, hanging out with these pilots. He may have information about this crime.
right.
So the state attorney then backed down. So we were waiting for the judge to make a ruling on whether that deposition was going to happen or not. When out of nowhere, the federal government decided to indict these pilots and bring the case over to federal court instead of state court. And in federal court, there are no depositions of witnesses. I got that directly from one of the attorneys. So I looked into it. And I was just kind of curious, who is the U.S. attorney for the Middle District of Florida who had a grand jury indict these two pilots in September? A guy named Gregory Kehoe. Interesting. Okay, now who's Gregory Kehoe? He was appointed by Pam Bondi on April 1st of this year. Okay, interesting. Pam Bondi. Well, we know Pam Bondi's a big friend of Scientology. That goes way back. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, where did Gregory Kehoe come from? He had been a shareholder at a law firm called Greenberg Traurig. Hmm. I found the press release when Gregory Kehoe got that job because he was a kind of a big deal. He had actually taken part in the International Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia, and he helped prosecute war criminals over there.
Wow.
Really important work he did over there. He's a former assistant U.S. attorney, but in 2006, he went into private practice and joined this Tampa law firm, Greenberg Traurig. And in the press release, he was saying that the reason that he decided to do that was his good friend David Weinstein was there. David Weinstein was the main shareholder for that law firm. David Weinstein was talking about what great work Gregory Kehoe does, and how they'd worked on some cases before in the past, and how buddy buddy they were. So David Weinstein brings in Gregory Kehoe. All right, 2022. Valeska Paris and the Baxters sue the Church of Scientology in federal court for years of slavery on the free winds. And they name like five or six Scientology entities, one of which is Church Scientology Flagship Service Organization, FSSO. FSSO is the entity that runs the courses on the ship.
Yep.
They're the ones
It's a
that deliver the
service.
auditing.
That's right. Yeah.
Flagship Service Organization, FSSO.
Yep.
They're being sued by Valeska Paris and the Baxters. Well, you can imagine there's a lot of attorneys in this lawsuit because there's like five different defendants. FSSO is one of the defendants. Its lead attorney is David Weinstein of Greenberg Traurig.
Really?
Yeah. So in 2023, that case gets forced into arbitration. In 2025, Pam Bondi appoints Dave's good buddy, Gregory Kehoe, also from Greenberg Traurig, which is actively handling a Scientology case. She makes him U.S. Attorney, acting interim U.S. Attorney in the Middle District of Florida. And just a couple of months later, he gets a grand jury to indict Jean Paul de Cruz Romero and Jordan Corsi. And that case last month got moved to federal court, which means the entire state court gets completely wiped out, including anything Joe Barone did. They start from scratch, and they've got a December 1st trial date. And I talked to one of the attorneys who said, no, there's no depositions on the federal level.
No.
Will Travolta testify? Well, they'll probably do their best to keep him out. So I don't know. I just thought I'd point out that Pam Bondi appointed somebody that sure seemed to do a big favor for John Travolta and the Church of
That's right.
Scientology, because I think they don't want to answer questions about John and Jimmy and the living arrangements at the Ocala house, which I've written about before.
Yep.
There's some people don't like that I write about that, but I'm look, I think everyone would be so happy if John Travolta would start being a little more honest about who he is and what he's all about. And I think
Yeah.
he'd be embraced. And I think people would love to hear about Jimmy Marino, but that's me. Anyway, they don't want to answer questions, and now thanks to Pam Bondi, they probably won't have to. So that's what's going on in that case. And like I said, it took a week, but all of a sudden the other media is getting really excited about that case, and I'm getting calls. So we'll see.
Good.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll see some denials, and I'll probably be called all kinds of names. But I don't know. I think John Travolta is an interesting figure, and it's a very interesting case.
Absolutely, it is. And I want to point out that not one aspect of this would have or could have been reported on or made known to the public at large without investigative reporting, digging in like you did, digging into these things. And the reason I point this out is because I want to point up to everybody that we're hyper aware these days of what we might term political corruption, whatever side of whatever fence you want to fall onto, I think we all agree there's an awful lot of corruption going on in our systems, and we don't like it. And the nature of it is, up for debate, and how you see it is up for debate. But the fact that it happens isn't. And what does that look like when Pam Bondi, you and I heard she was going to go up and be the Attorney General for the United States, the single most powerful law enforcement official in the world, and certainly in the country. And she has this power to appoint these lesser people. And she comes out of Florida, and she's been at Scientology fundraisers, and she's taken Scientology money, and she is pimped for Scientology, right? And we go, holy cow, what is this going to look like on the national stage? Well, they've already got their tax exemption. And so pretty much, whatever we're going to see is probably not going to be seen. We're going to see it. We're going to have to dig it up. We're going to have to find, what are these people going to get up to? Well, here's a wonderful example of exactly the kind of crap they get up to. It's all behind the scenes. A state case disappears and suddenly it's a federal case. Who would notice that? Who would know what's actually going on there, right? And yet it's fucking Scientology is pulling the strings, using our system.
Except for a nosy reporter who's interested in the case.
Exactly. So I want to point out, one, you only know about this because of investigative journalism, which seems to be a little rare these days. But on top of that, right, I just want to point out, like, just how deep the shenanigans go, that we're just not going to see this stuff. And it's really infuriating. Isn't this, now, did this guy, this Kehoe guy, is this the same name of the guy who told Clearwater to calm down about the religious ground, or is that a different person?
That's the state attorney general.
That's the state attorney. Okay, good. Just want to make sure, because now unfortunately, that actually makes it worse, because now we see Scientology influence in two AG areas, actually, in Florida. Should we be
and the other? So you got the state attorney general,
yep,
running interference for David Miscavige in Clearwater.
Yep.
You got the Middle Florida Federal District U.S. Attorney, who was appointed by Pam Bondi, and is from a law firm that is defending Scientology in a federal case.
Yep.
And he seems to be doing a little bit of a favor for John Travolta. And then also, let's not forget that Scientology itself, at Freedom Magazine, was very excited about a New Jersey case involving a synagogue where some protesters really came down hard on from the federal government simply because they were interrupting a religious service. I have to think Pam Bondi is hearing right now from the Church of Scientology about protecting its facilities from protesters. And I just think, that's something to keep an eye on. Let's see what the federal government does about that. So it's just an interesting time where Scientology, remember what Lawrence Wright said in Going Clear. Thanks to their tax-exempt status, Scientology is protected. And it just seems like they're more protected than ever before. Right now, it's just something else.
It really is. It smacks of, if we want to bring mafia parallels in, and I'm always happy to do that when it comes to Scientology because it's structured that way, then we have to consider Scientology a made man, in this system right now. And it kind of, it's kind of awful.
Yeah.
But, we can do something about that. It's called our votes. So, let's try that. Okay, now this you mentioned Lisa McPherson this week. We had a couple articles about that. What's the?
Yeah. So look, 10 years ago, for the 20th anniversary of her death, I did a lot of work, and I started about 3 weeks out from her death, and started reporting what her last 3 weeks were in real time. So, okay, so today's November, this is coming out on November 15th. What happened in her life on November 15th? So today, if you go to the Underground Bunker, TonyOrtega.substack.com, you'll see I have a really interesting story talking to Tom DeVaught about David Miscavige overseeing Lisa McPherson's case, but also specifically what happened today, 30 years ago, in Lisa McPherson's life. And we're going to do that all the way up to her death. So I'm bringing back that series from 10 years ago because time flies, man. And now it's the 30th anniversary of her death. And the reason why I think it's important is not just because it's something that so many people have heard of, but because we know they still operate the same way, Chris. Scientology hasn't learned any lessons from this. They're still treating people with this. We know, we've seen cases where they're using what's called the baby watch, where they're using the introspection rundown, where they're basically, I mean, just this, the Whitney Mills case. They're trying to replace professional mental health care in this country.
That's right.
So the Lisa McPherson case is still important, and I just hope people will learn something over these next 3 weeks. Some really interesting reporting, some great stuff that Jeff Jacobson has at his website. Some really interesting things that Janet Reitman had turned up in her book Inside Scientology, as well as some reporting of my own. Talking to Mark Headley, talking to Tom DeVaught, talking to Claire Headley, and so I think even though I did publish this series 10 years ago, I think people should give it a look now because it's some amazing stuff, and it still is, as I call it, Scientology's grimmest scandal.
Oh, the worst, the worst. They literally got away with neglecting this woman to the point where she died. And um, and I say neglect because but it was a very active thing on their part. They went and got her out of the hospital so they could oversee her care, and then she died in their care. And those facts are undisputable. That
Yeah,
happened.
absolutely.
And the fact that David Miscavige was behind ordering, how that whole thing, the things that set that whole thing off, and that Marty Rathbun later admitted to, actively covering it up, shredding documents. I mean, there's so
Right,
much.
right.
It's one of those stories like like Shelley in a way, like Paulette Cooper, very definitely, like Jerry Armstrong, in his story. It's these stories where an individual and their experiences with this group encapsulate every bad thing about it, right? This is and this is why they kind of become, in a way, the sort of negative poster children of the way we try to say, look, this is as bad as this is going to get, and it's death. It's bad. Like this is what Scientology brings when it's done right, which
Yeah,
is just completely scary, right?
exactly.
So yeah, so that's definitely something to look forward to, and I'm glad you're putting that out there again. That day by day thing is very clever. It's a very good idea. Um, Okay, and finally, we come to the last story for this week, which was just a kind of a topper of new OT7s. This was anyway. Go ahead and break down what this was.
Well, and I want to thank Alex Barnes Ross again because he let me know that there was a new Source magazine out there, and I was kind of like, I don't think Source is as fun as Impact or Advance. But I said, no, but that's where the OT completions are. I was like, oh, you're right. So got a copy, and yeah, the OT7s are listed in there, and I think it's important because OT. Everyone has told me that's been through it that OT7 is the most difficult of all the OT levels. If you remember, Leah Remini's mom on the show said that it took her 20 years to finish OT7. I think Tori took that long. I don't remember. Somebody else
A
told me it took
long,
a long,
uh,
long time.
yeah,
And this is you at home with an e-meter trying to locate the last of your body thetans. You've been chasing away body thetans on OT3, OT4, OT5, OT6, and now finally you're chasing them away at home. I mean,
right.
you have to be so delusional that you've convinced yourself you've got these invisible entities attached to you and you're chasing them away. And you finally chased away enough of them and you pass the whatever 6 month check or whatever. They're like, okay, finally you're done.
That's
And
right.
it's just tens of thousands of dollars that add up. By the time you're done with OT7 and finally ready to go to the ship for OT8, you may be $1 million into Scientology already. And
That's right.
it's just
Yeah.
incredible. So I just thought it was worth posting those names, see if people knew any. And yeah, it was. I don't know. It's just think about the money these people have spent and what they've convinced themselves that what they've done. It's just incredible.
It really is. And also, if you look at the list, it's not a very long list. And I'd like to just kind of point out, right, in terms of the pyramid of Scientology, these are the people at the top. Like, those are the folks who, that's the only list of people that the folks on the ship have to go, sell to get onto OT8, right? It's a small list of people.
And that's why the Free Winds has so many other things that they ask Scientology to come for, the
Right.
PR convention, leadership convention,
That's right.
competency convention, all this stuff because they can't pay the bills just with that small number of OT7s turning them into OT8s, you know. So
That's right.
it's just not they're not clearing the planet, Chris. I don't know.
I mean, what was it, 30 names or something? I mean, it really, I didn't count them, but it was really not very many.
Yeah.
And I just, it really again kind of puts, truth to the lie that they are clearing, the planet. Mike Rinder loved to, on his blog from time to time, would do the math on this, right? Of,
Yeah.
how many clears, how many OTs. And I mean, it's not even worth commenting that, when you see a list like this, you're not even keeping up with the infant mortality rate in a city, much less in the world. I mean, they're just not even making the tiniest of dents in the world. So Scientologists, come on, guys, could you get real? Okay. Um, all right. So Tony, thank you very much for the breakdown on all this stuff this week. This was really good. What do we see coming up this next week? Any ideas?
I mean, it may get delayed again, but this is the week when Danny Masterson's defense team is supposed to do their reply in his criminal appeal. Scientology, I mean, the state attorney general, California attorney general, responded in his appeal back in I think June, and really strong appeal. After Texas lawyers saw that, and I saw that, we were kind of thinking, I don't think Danny's going anywhere.
No.
but but this is this is Gardner's his appeal attorney Gardner. This is his chance to come back one more time.
Sure.
So that's supposed to come in this week, but like I said, they often delay it. But maybe we'll get a chance to see what that's about this week.
All right. All right. Cool. And hopefully his attorneys don't use AI in there. Uh,
They better not.
yeah, wouldn't that be ironic? It would be kind of ironic. Anyway, okay, folks, thanks very much for coming around, watching us gabber on about this. There is the address for Tony's Substack again on the screen, link below. Go to it, subscribe, get your daily notifications, and check back in with us on the Saturdays for the wrap up. See you next week. Bye bye.